Welcome to IAS Factor. Now we are discussing the ancient India revision for your prelims examination and to get some important idea for the mains art and culture too. So the first important thing, we'll start off with today's session. And yesterday we completed the most important session regarding the Buddhism, which is a classic area, very, very important for the UPSC. So today I'm going to start off with Jainism, which again is another important. So definitely these are the important reformation movements that were happening in the ancient times. And we've already discussed Buddhism in detail. Now let's discuss some of the important context in Jainism. So the idea and the learning technique remains the same. You need to know some ideas because when you learn Jainism, there is going to be a lot of ideas and obviously there is going to be teachings. And on top of teachings, there will be some terms and terminologies, some important concepts which are important throughout Jainism, and we learn some important facts which is very important for the UPSC prelims perspective. So we'll keep it academic, and as you know, studying a religion is not easy, and the facts and the information is infinite. So we'll stick on to the UPSC syllabus and learn the important contents for that. Okay, so let's move on to the do read about me and let's start with Jainism and their teachings. So obviously, you know, Buddhism started off with Gautam Buddha, who was a king, who was a prince, who became a king, and later left his palace and his luxuries and he started seeking enlightenment. Jainism starts with Mahavira. Mahavira also was a king exactly like Buddha. He also left his home, all his luxuries, palace in search of enlightenment. So when you talk about enlightenment, the idea is same, but the names and terminologies that they give is entirely different. That is a different. In Jainism we had Nirvana, Buddhism we had Nirvana, here we have Kaivalya. The concepts and terms are almost the same, but the definitions are different. That is the main thing. And we all often refer Jain, Vardhamana, Jain or Mahavira as a Tirthankara. That is an important word. He is the 24th Tirthankara. That is what we say. Mahavira is the 24th Tirthankara, one who could make you cross the river. Tirthankara and the banks, that is the literal meaning, but have an idea. Tirthankara, so he was the 24th. So just imagine. So there obviously it starts from 1 and it goes to 24. So you should understand that he was not the first. Mahavira was not the first. As a Tirthankara, there were many people behind him. Much behind him. And it starts from a person and it ends. So we need to check out. We cannot literally remember all the names of the Tirthankaras, but definitely we need to have an idea. Just few names. So do not get a feeling that Mahavira was the first. Mahavira was the 24th Tirthankara. So having this information is very vital. Now let's move on to the other important aspect. So as you know, we'll just take the content and we'll just get the facts. So Jainism is an ancient Indian religion that recorded, and the tradition believes in 24 Tirthankaras. This is what I said, ford makers, spiritual teachers who helped in reviving dharma. So the first Tirthankara is Rishabhanatha, very, very important. It's also mentioned in Rig Veda and Vishnu Purana. So this can be a question. The first one was Rishabha, and the 24th and the last Tirthankara was Vardhamana Mahavira, the contemporary of Buddha. So again, the last is this. So who was 23rd? They can even ask this question. The first was Rishabhanatha and the 24th was Mahavira. 23rd is Parshvanatha. When you learn art and culture, you will see a lot of temples relating to Parshvanatha. So 23rd is Parshvanatha, and Mahavira, Jainism became more organized. So 23rd is Mahavira, and he was the contemporary of Buddha. He was a contemporary Jainism. When you talk about Mahavira, he was a contemporary of Buddha. But when you compare the age, who was older, Buddha or Mahavira? Mahavira was 15 years older than Buddha. And they almost lived in the contemporary period, but we'll have to deal with more things like that. But get this. Get the important concepts about the Tirthankara. So remember, it starts with Rishabhanatha, going on to Adinatha. All the names are not important, but the 23rd is Parshvanatha. And some of the important names which comes when you read art and culture, you see some names like I can give you Some of the names is here you can see Mallinatha is an important name, so you can remember, and Naminatha, Neminatha, and Parshvanatha. All these, so most of them ends with the word Natha, Natha. Rishabhanatha, Mahavira and Vardhamana is different, but all of them had the Shantinatha, Dharmanatha. So all these are interesting names. So note these are the part. Starting from this, it ends with Vardhamana. This is important. That is what we need to know. And obviously, let's start with the birth. He was born in Kundagrama near Vaishali. It's in modern Bihar. So that is point number 1. Can be asked. And it belonged to Kshatriya clan. He was also Kshatriya clan. Lichavi princess. That is the clan. Like we said, Buddha was also that prince. His father's name is Siddhartha. Siddhartha. So remember, Gautama Siddhartha was the name of the Buddha. Name of Buddha. Mahavira's father was also Siddhartha. So you can easily remember. And mother is Trishala. Buddha's mother, Gautama's Siddhartha's father was the prince Shuddhodana Maharaj, and his mother was Maya. Here the mother is Trishala. Buddha left at age of 29. He left at the age of 30. He got in search of truth, intense austerity, and only after 42 under a sala tree. So the trees are also important, which is the both in Buddhism, you know, the trees. Jainism, it is a sala tree, and he preached for 30 years across India. He died at Pavapuri in Bihar at the age of 72. So this man almost preached for 30 years. So very, very contemporary to Buddha. Remember all this: Pavapuri, Kundagrama, Vaishali. These can be the questions that they can ask in the examination in the prelims. So what are the 3 Ratnas? This is the PYQ. They've asked this question in the prelims. Which of the following are the 3 jewels or the 3 Ratna? So right is a common factor. Samyak Darshan, Samyak Jnana, and Samyak Charita, which means right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. You will have to remember this. The 3 Ratnas of Jainism. It is a question. So you need to know what the right is a common factor here. Samyak, Darshana, Jnana, and Charita. Faith, knowledge, and conduct. These are the 3 jewels. And what are the 5 great vows for the monks? These are the great 5 vows for the monks, in the sense Ahimsa, Satya. You need to know Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha. So that means non-violence, truth, non-stealing, celibacy, non-possession. So some of the lay followers, it's very difficult. You know, it's how do you think? Do you think non-violence? It's not easy. Always the truth. You cannot steal. Always celibacy, brahmacharya, and you should not possess anything. So do you think these are very important or very easy things to do? They are not at all easy things to do. So that is the reason why some of the lay followers, the normal followers called the Mahavratas, can take the lesser versions of all of this. That is also a part of this. So remember the 5 great vows that can also be asked in the prelims examination: truth, non-violence. This is also already asked, but they can always put it in a different way and ask. Non-possession, aparigraha. They can ask, what does aparigraha mean? So remember, non-possession, you should not possess. And some of the principles, interesting principles that they can ask is anekantavada. When you learn philosophy, definitely you learn all these concepts. What is anekantavada? That means reality is many-sided. Encourage tolerance and pluralism. I'll give you a story. See, the story is interesting here. You can actually check out the story here. The story is of an elephant. Just remember, this is a story. So imagine an elephant and a group of blind men. Each blind man touches a different parts of the elephant. One touches the trunk and say it's like snake. Another touches the leg and it says it's like a tree. Another touches the ear and it says it's like a fan. They're all partially right, but none of them understands the whole elephant. Anekantavada is a truth like this one. No single person or belief can fully. Truth is like this. You cannot fully, or no person or no belief can fully identify the truth. Everyone sees the part of the truth from their own perspective. So we should be tolerant, listen to others and respect different views because they might hold a part of the truth. This is the great teaching, Anekantavada. That is why I've given you this picture. Some might touch the ear, some might touch the trunk, or some might touch the leg. So different people understand different things. So what is the important thing that you need to understand? So I tried generating an AI by image. It's really funny to see a man with the elephant's head. Okay. So I hope you'll remember. I just kept, I just did this because next time when you see Anekantavada, you can, apart from UPSC, you can use it this life also. Always listen to others. They might hold a piece of the truth. That is Anekantavada. It's a good philosophy that you can understand. Next is Shadvada, the doctrine of conditioned predication. Truth is conditional. It has a sevenfold judgments or saptabhangi. Very important. They can ask you this question in the prelims also. What is saptabhangi? So one point, after some time in preparation, you will not be able to remember any of this. You will all forget it. But try to recollect. That is a good preparation. What is the concept of saptabhangi? Saptabhangi means sevenfold judgment. That is Shadvada. It is a bit difficult to understand, in the sense it's a bit irritating also, but you will not be able to remember everything. What is the most irritating thing is because when you prepare for ancient India, medieval India, you are bombarded with facts. You feel really irritated. I am forgetting all this. That is the reason why I understand Shadvada and Anekavanta. I have got an interesting story for that, but I'm not going to explain all of this, but imagine that there is a toy car that used to work, but it is now old. So you had a toy car, now it is not working, now it is old. So there are sevenfold. These seven things are the Shadbhangi or the Saptabhangi. The Saptabhangi. So one view say that Syad Asti, yeah, maybe the toy exists. Next is the toy may not exist. The toy car doesn't exist as new toy anymore because it is old. So how can you say the toy exists? The toy was old. The new one, now it is old. Maybe it exists and doesn't exist. The toy exists as an object but doesn't exist as a working toy. Both are true. Syad Avyakta. Maybe it's indescribable. It's broken that you don't know what to call it, a toy, junk or parts. Or Asti Avyakta. Maybe it exists and it is still indescribable. Maybe it doesn't exist and it is indescribable. Maybe it exists, doesn't exist and indescribable. Likewise, for one thing, you can have 7 type of judgments. That is why I said it's very confusing. So, Asti, Nasti, Avyakta, Asti Avyakta, Nasti Avyakta, Asti Nasti Avyakta. These sounds interesting, but I'm sure as a philosophy, it is very correct. When you look at a thing, you can look at different aspects. So this is the philosophical aspects of Shadvada. Asti Nasti, Avyakta. You make combination Asti Nasti, Nasti, Avyakta, Asti Avyakta, Nasti Avyakta, Asti Navyakta. So it's a interesting thing. When you get time, you can read it also. Next is the concept of karma and liberation. Like Buddhism also, Jainism also has the concepts of karma and liberation. So in Jainism, karma is viewed as a very subtle matter that binds the soul, affecting its cycle of rebirth. So imagine Jainism, karma is not just a moral concept. It is believed to be subtle, invisible substance that actually sticks to the soul. So imagine the simple way of understanding karma is, imagine the soul as a clean white cloth. Every bad action or thought is like dust sticking into the white cloth. So obviously the white cloth gets stained or soiled. This is karmic matter. And also you need to know, these are all Jain principles. So it's like a white cloth. So whatever bad things you do are the dust or the soil or the stain which is on the cloth. So the more the karma, the bad your karma, the white cloth has become very soiled. So this is that you have to understand the karma and concept of Jainism is this. And what is Nava Tattvas? I don't think they have asked this question in the UPSC, so definitely they can ask this question. What are Nava Tattvas of Jainism? So one is soul, non-soul, Jiva, Ajiva, Asrava, karma, Bandha, bondage, Samvara or stoppage of karma, Nirjara, shedding of karma, Moksha, Punya, Pap. So I don't think you'll be able to remember all this. You will definitely forget all this, but definitely try to recollect. Ajiva means Ajiva, Jiva. So you can remember it easily. Soul, non-soul, karma, bondage of karma, stopping karma, shedding karma, getting liberated, merit, demerit. Punya and pap, definitely the most easiest thing that you can remember is punya and pap you can remember. Jiva, Ajiva you can remember. Then the rest is all karma. Karma, bondage of karma, stopping of karma, shedding of karma. Then you get moksha, obviously. So this is how you easily remember all this, because for remembrance is all recollection. I call this recollection. You recollect it. Just you have, imagine, what was that? You can remember Jiva, you can remember Jiva, Ajiva, soul, non-soul, and you can remember what are the other important things. You can remember moksha, and you can remember the karma aspect. So likewise, you can try remembering this, and you can remember papa and punya are Navatatvas. What is Salekhana? This is again in the news, and sometimes you must have heard in the news something called Santara. Jainist people have a very interesting way of a peaceful voluntary dying, because one Salekhana is a peaceful voluntary gradual fasting unto death practiced by some Jain monks and occasionally layperson and even nuns. So imagine that you eat something 3 days. Next time, few days after, you eat the same thing only for 1 day. Maybe after some time, you gradually decrease the food and the quantum of the food, and finally you do not eat anything, and finally you die. That is fasting unto death, slowly process. It is not suicide, but it is a spiritual vow taken only at the end of life, when a body is extremely old, sick, or near death. A person can no longer perform spiritual practice. So this is very popular thing called Salekhana in Jainism, or Santara. The goal is to detach body from the desires and burn off remaining karmas, die with pure thoughts, peacefully and mindfully. And if you have heard about Mauryan Empire, definitely in Mauryan Empire, you must have heard about the great Chandragupta Maurya. The great Chandragupta Maurya later took Jainism. He was a practicing Jain. And finally, he left his kingdom to his son Bindusara, and he left to the South India, to the Shravana Belagola area, and he supposedly did Salekhana. So this is a Jain practice. So remember Chandragupta Maurya. And what are the sects of Jainism? Just like in Buddhism, we have Hinayana and Mahayana, Theravada, etc. Here we have different type. And the first one being the Digambara or sky-clad. Digambar, let's break it. Dig means Akash. Dig means this body, and Ambar means Akash. Sorry, Ambar means Akash. So sky is your dress. Digambara. Monks practice, so basically they are in nudity, symbolizing complete renunciation. Women must be reborn as men to attain liberation. You might really not like this point. You might sound it very patriarchal, because women must be reborn as man to attain liberation. This can be a bit controversial also. Do not accept the authenticity of Jain Agamas. The Hinayana people do not believe in the Jain scriptures. They do not believe in the Jain scriptures. So it is even said that initially Mahavira was also a type of Digambara. Again, two people definitely have claims. Shvetambara means white clad people. Shweta means white. So white clad people. Monks and nuns wear white robes, and women according to them, women can achieve liberation. They accept the Jain Agamas. Agamas are the books. So I'll come to that literature part. So Shvetambara, women can also get it, but according to Digambaras, women need to be reborn as man. All these are important, remember. Now moving on to the Jain and literature part. This can be some questions that they can ask. You remember the Tripitakas, Vinay Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka of Buddhism, just like we have the Jain literature. Number one, it is the Shvetambara literature. We have the Shvetambara and Digambara. Shvetambara first. Shvetambara means white clad people. They believe the text are the actual teachings of Mahavira. That is the reason why Digambaras do not believe in this. They were compiled at the Council of Vallabhi in the century. Just like we had 4 Buddhist council, we have also 2 Jain council which are called as Sangitis. We will come to that. Vallabhi is a very important place related to Jainism. So what are the key texts? The texts are called Agamas. Next time when you see a text called Agamas, you should always understand what exactly are this Agamas is something that you need to understand. Okay, so you need to be understanding what are the Agamas. Okay, so these are the text. These are called the agamas and divided into the Buddhist text, Jainist texts are agamas. So remember agamas and 11 angas and 12 upangas. 11 angas means the main teachings and 12 upangas, secondary text expanding. And there are various books like Cheda Sutras, Mula Sutras, Prakirnas. And the 12th anga, the Drishtivada, is supposedly lost. You have no idea about this. So agamas are divided into 11 angas and 12 upangas. These are the things that you have to remember. The 12 angas and 11 angas and 12 upangas. So the 12th anga, Drishtivada, is lost. That is why we have 11 angas. It was 12 upangas and 12 angas. So 1 is lost. Drishtivada is lost. Know it. And Shvetambara literature. This is again Shvetambara literature. We have already, the Drishtivada, I will given the details. The Cheda Sutra, Mula Sutras are all part of this agamas. And Digambara literature. Digambara believe the original agamas were lost. So they follow text written later based on. So they believe that it was lost. The Digambara texts are Shaktangam, the Kasaya, Pahuda, all these are difficult. Tattvavarta Sutra, Samayasara, Gomatsara. So these are all important texts. Maybe you will not be able to remember all those things, but try to understand some. When you see some names that these are all Jain books, get an idea. And the Tattvarta Sutra is a comprehensive Jain text accepted by both Acharya Umaswati. So they both, it's a Tattvarta Sutra is a book accepted by both Digambaras and Shvetambaras. And Kalpa Sutra, you can definitely remember this. Other names I don't think you'll remember, but it contains Tirthankaras including Mahavira and recited during the Paryushana festival. It is the Paryushana festival. During this festival, very popular festival, the Kalpa Sutra is recited. It is the biography of Tirthankara, and Tattvartha Sutra is accepted by both the people. You will definitely remember that. And some of the Jain philosophy. Non-theistic outlook. Jainism does not post a creator of God. The universe is eternal and operates through natural laws. So it does not have a creator God. It is eternal. It operates through natural law. And it has dualism concept. Dualism means two. A clear differentiation between jiva and ajiva. Things which is soul and non-soul. So liberation is achieved through personal discipline. We'll get into the other important aspects of the philosophy. So soul in Jainism. All living beings have a soul. All living. Jainism holds that everything with a soul is living being. The soul is eternal, conscious and intrinsically pure. But it is bound by karma. Remember the white cloth. And jiva means they have consciousness, chetana, experience pleasure, pain, birth and death. Accumulate karma. That is, if you are a living being, you will definitely have karma. You will do something. They can achieve liberation. Like examples, humans, animals, insects, plant, microorganisms, even one sense being like water or air, living beings, because they can accumulate karma. They have consciousness. That means they can feel, experience. They are the jiva. And the ajiva means they are non-souls without life or consciousness. They do not accumulate karma. That is an important thing. And they do not take birth or die. Like matter, motion, rest, space, time, all these do not take birth or do not accumulate. So jiva means they will attract karma, and the other things they will not attract karma. So jiva, ajiva. Next is like Buddhist council. We have the Jain Sangitis or Jain councils. So the Jain community held important to compile and preserve their religious texts, especially due to the risk of losing oral tradition. So these councils were mainly conducted by the Shvetambara sect. So Digambaras, in Buddhist council, you see different people conducted these councils, and you will remember that there was when you remember council, what did you learn? You learned about the year. There was a year which was 483 BC, 383 BC, 253 BC, 72 AD. Do you remember Buddhist? 483, 383, 250. Do you remember the places? The people, Mogali Puttaptisa, the name of Sabakami, the people, starting from Ajata Shatru, Kalashoka, Ashoka and Kanishka. And what did they do? They solved the problems of Hinayana and Mahayana. They also had literature. They also compiled various literature. So likewise, the first council was in Pataliputra, 300 BC. Pataliputra is modern Patna. Acharya Stulabhadra was the leader. Shvetambara was the organization. Many monks had memorized the scriptures. After a severe famine, many monks who had memorized the scriptures died. To preserve Mahavira's teaching, a council was held to compile the Agama orally. The teachings were compiled and organized. So it was the risk of losing information. So did this. And the second council is in Vallabhi, very popular, is in present day Gujarat. Shramana, you can remember the Shema Shramana is a man, and Shvetambara sect is the Devaradgini Shama Shramana. To prevent further loss of Jain teachings, the orally preserved agamas were written down. So Shvetambaras were the people who held this. The Digambara sect do not accept the Shvetambara agamas as authentic. They believe the original teachings were completely lost after the famine. That is their belief. Digambara people, after the famine, everybody who knew the Jain teaching died. So whatever it was actually preached later, they are not authentic, they are duplicate, and they are completely not the right thing. So instead they rely on texts composed by acharyas such as the Kunda Kunda. You can remember the Kunda Kunda, the Pushpadanta, and Bhuta Bali. These are all important works. Like definitely you can remember the Kunda Kunda, Pushpa and Bhuta Bali are all the Jain Digambara viewpoint. So I think these are some of the important things for Jainism. And now next session I'll do one thing. I'll compare Buddha and Jaina together. What are the important common factors and what are the important differences for them? This is also viewpoint for the exam, and some of the important kings who were from Jaina and Buddhism religion. So read all this and we'll come for the next session. Thank you.